You're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
If you or your patients struggle with muscle cramps, spasms, soreness, or restless leg syndrome, you're going to want to hear about our non-opioid TheraWorks Relief. TheraWorks Relief is a clinically proven and published locally acting topical solution that prevents and relieves muscle cramps, spasms, and soreness in the legs and feet. In a research study including patients diagnosed with restless leg syndrome, TheraWorks Relief was shown to reduce symptoms commonly associated with accompanying RLS, including muscle cramps and spasms. Muscle cramps are reported as a side effect of hundreds of prescription medications, from intravenous iron sucrose and conjugated estrogens to statins and diuretics. By managing muscle cramps, TheraWorks Relief supports adherence, helping patients stay on important and often life-saving medications. TheraWorks Relief comes in an easy-to-use, fast-absorbing, non-greasy foam that can prevent muscle cramps and spasms with just a few simple applications a day. To learn more about TheraWorks Relief, go to theraworksrelief.com and click on the Healthcare Professional link.
Welcome to the Income Outcome Show, a podcast publication part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. The Income Outcome Show is dedicated to pharmacists, pharmacy technicians, pharmacy students, and all pharmacy professionals interested in maximizing their income and providing insights into living a financially free lifestyle.
All matters discussed during this podcast are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Waypoint Strategic Advisors, LLC, and our editorial staff. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representations as to its accuracy or completeness. All information and ideas should be discussed in detail with your individual advisor prior to implementation. The presence of this podcast shall in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to anyone. Waypoint Strategic Advisors, LLC is not affiliated with or endorsed by any government agency and are not engaged in the practice of law. Content should not be viewed as an offer to buy or sell any of the securities mentioned or as legal or tax advice. You should always consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation.
And now here are your hosts of the Income Outcome Show, Ben Coakley with Waypoint Strategic Advisors and Joe Castleman with Pharmacist Financial.
Gold or real estate?
We're doing gold.
Okay.
There's gold and then there hills. All right. Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Income Outcomes Show. Today, I am your host, Ben Coakley. I am here with my partner in crime, Joe Castleman. Say hi, Joe.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Doing well. Joe, you ever heard the saying, I think I just called you Joel. Joe, have you ever heard the saying, there's gold and then there are hills?
Yes, I have. And I've also heard of black gold.
Black gold. You're in Texas tea. All right. Yeah. Yeah, there are no oil wells around Dallas, are there? Last time I was out there, I only saw about 4 million.
There's just fracking. There's fracking everywhere.
They're fracking now. Yeah. Just watch out for the earthquakes, the fracking quakes. So anyway, Joe, what are we talking about today in our podcast?
Yeah, Ben. So we're going to follow up with what we talked about last time about the investing versus speculating. And we're going to dive into one of the areas that people can speculate or find themselves speculating, and that's precious metals. And again, like we said last time, precious metals by themselves are not speculative per se. It's that we want to help people understand you can speculate and do too much. But we're going to dive into kind of the history of gold, precious metals, and kind of how to fit it in with your overall plan if you're going to do that. And then also kind of the emotions. Why do people actually do gold or precious metals? You know, is there emotion behind it that keeps people buying it?
Yeah, Joe. So we actually in the last podcast brought up the 5 actual things that are considered precious metals.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot. Let's just throw it out there. These are the 5 ones that most people have probably heard of: gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and titanium. Joe, so let's talk about the most common one that we see is gold.
Yeah, gold.
We see gold. We see all kinds of commercials. We hear it on the radio. If you listen to talk radio at all, it's like those people are just magnets for gold commercials. So let's talk a little bit about gold. I'm reading right here. Did you know that Incas referred to gold as the tears of the sun?
That sounds like something they would do, though.
That sounds
but they
like,
weren't speculating in it. They were.
There was no concept of gold being worth something back then. Now, it does say it was first used. The first gold coins were used around 700 BC. That is an interesting concept. It's been mined around the Mediterranean, Middle East regions. No matter how far back, gold has always had intrinsic value for humans. Yeah. Joe, I think that's part of the reasons. One of the reasons that we are so susceptible to gold and precious metals. I think, when I hear those commercials, they're like, "Hey, you can touch this stuff. It's physical.
It's physical
gold."
And gold is shiny, and people, like you said, with the Incas, but even before they had a monetary system, they still liked gold. So they were attracted to it. So it's not just it's a precious metals. I always think something you can hold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what got people into it. They're interested regardless of the value of it.
That to me is really, really, really important for everybody out there to understand. I mean, it's shiny. It's, right. Before it had monetary value,
it had other value.
The allure of just finding it, and I mean, when the Aztecs had their cities lined with gold, and it's one of the reasons
Donald Trump, didn't he have a solid gold bathroom or something, or townhouse?
Joe, I've stayed in a couple of these resorts, and I've never seen a solid gold bathroom. So that would be something that I can imagine Donald Trump would do. So, so
basically what we're saying though, Ben, is kind of the history of precious metals, especially gold and silvers, is that they're desirable just in and of themselves as owning them.
Yep.
And then, so that's kind of what maybe fuels or continues to fuel the desire to invest or put money into precious metals.
Yeah, Joe. If you, I don't know if you've ever read the Bible, Joe, but I've read a lot of it. No, I can't say I've read every single chapter and verse. But do you remember what Judas did? What he got for betraying Jesus?
Gold.
20 pieces of silver, brother.
Silver.
20 pieces of silver. So I mean, this is something that we've been dealing with as human beings for as long as we've been on this earth. So let's talk a little bit. Let's summarize again for people who were just listening to this and maybe didn't hear the previous podcast. Let's talk about the difference between speculating and investing. Let's just hit that, Joe, really quick. I'm going to let you give your definitions because I really like it. So, how do you describe the difference?
So I think the easiest way is to think about investing is something that you can it's not that it's not risky, but you can kind of predict more. You can kind of set goals to it. You can invest in it over long term and think about what's the range of possible outcomes and gauge the risk versus reward like that and plan on it or plan with it. Speculating is more with something that you don't know what the outcome is, and it's highly likely to be either extremely high outcome or absolutely you lose everything. Okay, so the difference is that one, you can actually use long-term. And I think speculating is more like short-term, but also there are things like we talked about last time that by themselves are not speculative. But if a client or a person that we know puts too much into it, it can become speculative as part of their plan. So it's, I guess, more unknown outcome.
Yeah. We don't know the risks. We don't know the return. We can reasonably forecast a risk versus return with an investment.
Exactly.
So because we have more data on points on it, we have more of a track record, things like that. So Joe, let's talk a little bit about speculating in gold, and I want to bring up the human nature portion of this because everything that you mentioned about the allure of gold and all that boils down to human nature. And let's talk a little bit about the people who are trying to get us to put all of our money in gold or speculate in silver or platinum or palladium or titanium or anything like that. What emotion are they are they appealing to? And I know there's two primary ones, but I want to.
I would definitely say fear, and it's that fear of whatever else you have your money in that's not gold or silver is going to disappear overnight. And that's a pretty powerful fear, as we've talked about, I think is very, very powerful. And I think to tie it in with the history of the gold and silver we were talking about earlier, because there is that natural allure to the actual substance, there's this perception that those things are also safe havens. Mm-hmm. That you lose money in gold and silver, it's never going to go away. Right. And so that fear is also based on that. It's not only that the market or some other investment might go down, you better get in gold. It's just that the idea that, hey, it's never going to go down, or over the long term, it's going to be great because it's precious metal and everybody's always going to want it.
Yeah. Because of human nature, mm-hmm. people have always had that attraction to that particular asset. And again, and Joe, the other one I think is greed.
Yeah.
The other one that's greed. It's like, hey, I was reading that article to you about where in 2013, the newspaper over in England was like, man, gold's even more attractive this year than last year. And I'm looking at gold, and it had gone up pretty substantially in 2012.
See, that's interesting, man, because we were talking about this before the show. When I think of gold, like 2008, 2009, everybody was talking about gold because it was more of the fear side. It was the safe, get out of the market. But what you're referring to, that was several years afterwards, and people were still talking about it. Yeah. It's got to be more on the greed side.
Yeah, it could be the greed, Joe, but it could still be the fear. It
could still be the fear that just lingers, yeah.
Yeah, Joe, because guys, and everybody who's listening to this, it's really important that you understand how your brain works, okay? Your brain interprets a loss. It hits you worse, or it hits you significantly harder than a gain actually, impacts you.
Yes.
And I think the factor is almost 7-1. There's a great book called Your Money and Your Brain written by a Harvard professor and Harvard economist. He really gets into this about pain hurts more than the top side feels good. And Joe, so I think what happens is we don't want to feel the way we felt in 08 and 09.
Yes.
We don't. So therefore we are become susceptible to people and advice that may not necessarily be the best. And Joe, and I think that's what happened when you hear or you read an article headline, gold is going to be great. It's going to go to $2,500 an ounce, and it's at $1,900 an ounce. I mean, you're sitting there and listen, it feels good. Like, wow, man, that's going to feel good when I get from 1,900 to 20 and at 2,500. And just the track record over the last 10, 15 years, gold has gone up pretty consistently. Well, it's not going to go down, and then boom, it goes down to $1,200 an ounce.
Yeah.
At the end of that year. Yeah. And so you're sitting there going like, what happened? Now, Joe, I'm going to tell you a story, and this is about advice and why you cannot become susceptible. We actually ran into another advisor, and we were in Hawaii. And I'm sitting at the bar, and I got me one of those fruity drinks with an umbrella in it. You've had one of those, Joe, I hope?
Quite a few.
Quite a few, okay. And I'm sitting there, and I see this lady sitting at the bar. So I strike up a conversation with her, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And it turns into, hey, what do you do? What do I do? And she said, I'm a financial advisor. And she said, but I'm really kind of down. She's in Hawaii, by the way. I'm going to repeat that. She's in Hawaii, so she's really down. She said, I convinced all my people to move all their money to gold, and gold dropped by 50%. Joe.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, she felt so bad she was in Hawaii. Now, again, that's speculating. Mm-hmm. That's speculating. And I, depending on how she got paid, I mean, it didn't hurt her one bit.
Yeah.
So when somebody convinces you to speculate, they're not doing it with their money.
Yeah.
They're doing it with your money.
Well, and what's interesting, Ben, and I don't know, but I'm guessing that she was kind of caught up in the emotion herself and then decided to pass it on to her clients, So there's always someone else that's trying to get you to pull on your emotional strings, Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. She
read an article that said gold is going to go double in price. Joe, and another quick story. Now this is a true testament to how biased we are as human beings. I always tell people, if you run into an advisor and they're going to tell you, we give you objective advice, run for the hills. There is no such thing. Joe, I'm a certified financial planner professional, and I've had many conversations with the powers that be for that certification about there is no such thing as subjective. As soon as any human being is able to formulate an opinion or a thought about something, you now are biased, and giving objective advice is not possible.
Yep.
Now, okay, this is a true testament. I was part of a leads group in Charleston, South Carolina, and there was a bunch of young guys in there, and we had a guy who was a jeweler, a master jeweler in there. He owned a couple businesses, but his primary source of income, he was a master jeweler. He got up and he said, I'm telling all you guys right now, this is like 04, 05, buy gold.
Yeah.
I'm telling every single Joe, if anybody knows gold, it's a master jeweler.
Yeah.
Right?
I stood up to sell it to you.
Well, yeah, I stood up and I said, I'm not sure I would put all my money in gold.
Yeah.
Joe, that year gold tanked. And we had a running joke with John Daly, the jeweler, who's a dear friend of mine, about gold and forecasting. I mean, because he stood up there with absolute 100% conviction and told everybody, take all your money and put it in gold. I'm a jeweler. If you can't trust me with this, who can you trust? And so again, it doesn't matter where the advice comes from. It doesn't matter if you read it in the paper, speculating is speculating.
Yeah. And in that example, Ben, the story you just sold, that's a good example of what we were talking about earlier about, gold itself is not speculative. It's how you use it and how much you put into it. So if he had told all his people all his friends, instead of putting all your money into it, if he had just told them, for example, hey, you just should put some of your extra money in there, it's going to go up.
Yeah.
It's still speculating, but it's more about, hey, this is a thing you should add to your overall plan.
Take 5% of your money and put it in.
But the fact that he said all was, he in his mind, he was so certain, and the nature of speculating is that there is no certainty.
Yeah, Joe, listen to this. This is unbelievable. I was in that leads group for like 3 years. Well, finally gold turned around. He got up and said, I told you all to put your money in gold. And I was just like, WTH, what the heck? Because again, I'm sitting there looking at it going like, man, these guys don't understand speculation versus, I had a realtor in there, Joe. We're going to talk about real estate in the next podcast. He told me there's no risk in real estate.
Ooh.
Word for word out of his mouth.
Wow.
No risk in real estate. Joe, this guy had to file bankruptcy because he listened to, we're going to talk about the advice.
He listened to himself, yeah.
Well, no, we're going to talk about, there's a couple particular advisors out there that people get advice from. And we're going to talk a little bit about this guy convinced millions of people to leverage everything they had in real estate. Joe, would you buy? Joe?
Yeah.
he had people going out buying real estate, taking all their money, all the equity out of it and buying another piece of property and then all the equity out. Mm-hmm. We had people leveraged like 12, 14, 15 homes leveraged 100%.
Yep.
And what happened in 07 and 08?
Yep.
Hey, you know what? I heard the same guy, and we're going to talk a little bit more. In 07 and 08, when the market started to rebound, I heard the same guy. He said, I forecasted real estate going down. Now I'm going to teach you how to buy stocks. I swear to goodness, I heard him the other day on the radio say, I forecasted the market going down. I'm going to tell you how to buy precious metals now.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. We won't say his name, but I think he also talked about investing in gold too. He did. He did. He's just bouncing around. He's just
yeah. He also had a rich dad and a poor dad. Yeah. So again, people like that are convincing you to speculate. I mean, you're doing it with your money.
Yeah,
that's your money.
Yeah,
they're convincing you to take your money and bet it all. Yeah, quite honestly, Joe, that's a slap in the face at our industry. But anyways, that's a whole nother topic for another time. Yeah. So Joe, let's wrap this up, man. We've gone long enough on precious metals here. You brought it up, the safe haven. The other thing, Joe, is gold a good hedge against inflation? I get that question all the time because the gold people sell it that way.
I don't personally think it would be. But is there really any hedge against inflation?
Yeah, true.
I think that's the paradox of it, or the misconception is that inflation is going to happen. Things are going to cost more. The best way to handle that is to prudently and plan and invest and just have more money.
Outpace inflation.
Outpace, exactly.
You can choose an investment. Yeah. Joe, I did some research on that because I get that question a lot. And what I found out is that from the unbiased, the people that didn't sell gold, there are short-term time periods where gold acts as a really good hedge, but over the long term, not so much.
Yeah. So that's true with other investments that might be considered inflation hedges.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So the best thing to do is choose an investment strategy and then just outpace inflation.
Exactly.
Joe, that's worked for, didn't that work for your grandpa and grandma?
Yep.
That worked for your mom and dad?
A lot of people. And that goes back to things we've talked about before, Ben, about how there is no overnight get rich quick. The speculative part of the nature of the speculative is the idea that you can do a lot less, put in a lot less effort and time and get a lot more return. But all the people that we know, that family and clients that have been very successful over the long term, they've just done it. They've outpaced their inflation.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, and I'm going to go all the jewelry. I'm going to go jewelry on you right here.
Yeah.
We would know, people. We would know if there was a get-rich-quick scheme that works. It's our job to find investment strategies that work.
Yeah.
Joe, have you found one yet?
I found one that works over the long term.
There you go.
It's called discipline and wise decisions with your own money.
There you go. So let's wrap it up on that, right. Joe. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, Joe, how do they do it, my man?
Yeah, they can shoot me a text or give me a call, 512-294-7046, or email joe@pharmacistfinancial.com. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, also, guys, you can visit Joe's website, pharmacistfinancial.com. We've got some new stuff, new design going up on that. We've got a new concept called Your Financial Prescription. Joe, I kind of like the sound of that.
Yes.
So we can actually go in and work with you and diagnose what needs to happen in your financial plan to give you guys the best chance to succeed. As for me, Ben at waypointrx.com. You can shoot me a text, 843-873-4420. You can call that number as well. That comes directly to our office. If you text to that number, it'll come directly to my cell phone. So we'd love to talk to you guys and ladies out there, and we hope this has been helpful for you. So, Joe, say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
All right, thank you, guys, and we look forward to talking with all of you soon.
Interested in learning more about maximizing your income and living a financially free lifestyle? Contact the Income Outcomes Show today to learn more about your financial possibilities and best practices in managing your money to create opportunities for lasting wealth. Go to pharmacypodcast.com under the contact section and send us a message and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. Thanks for listening to the Income Outcomes Show, a podcast publication part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network.